Hi guys, welcome to the Great Minds. And today we are with Timothy Akinnusi. Hi Tim.
How are you doing?
Great, and yourself?
Good, good,
Okay.
good.
Hi Tim. So welcome to our channel. We're doing this channel because we're trying to give information to people about the real struggle of successful, or I don't usually like the successful word because I think it depends on each other. So
Sure.
I'll say people that live in a more comfortable life, you know.
Okay.
So the thing is, we want to inspire people about the real journey, the real story, the reason why, what sweat people, individuals took to actually achieve what they have at this
100%.
point in time, you know.
Sure.
So just to enlighten the viewers who you are, what you do, yeah. So you
All
can.
right.
So,
So my name is Tim Akinnusi. I am an exco member at Nedbank Home Loans. And in essence, my job is to do revenue generation for the business as well as manage clients' affairs. And I've been doing this for a number of years. And I've been in the financial sector for over 10 years in total.
so Tim, I mean, at that position, I'm sure people, when you introduce yourself to them, they usually say, "Wow, how did you get there?" You know, or they admire you, and they see. I'm sure you're probably driving a nice car, and they see all this car, and they say, "Wow, maybe how can I be like this guy?" You know, and I think people really don't see the true story. So, can you just take us through? Your journey, your starting journey from where were you born and to maybe high school. What were the struggle? What did you maybe learn at school that probably put you here? Where you
Sure. So I think firstly, let me clarify. Whenever I meet people, it's never really about what I do or my title. It's really just to connect with people on
are?
a
All
real
right.
level, understand their stories, and to share my story in
Okay.
general. Um, so I think the whole idea that one wears their work as a representative is not something that I really
Okay. Okay.
encourage or sort of partake in.
Okay.
Um, if I had to tell my story very simply, I'm a young man. I come from a family of 8 siblings.
Wow. Eight.
7 siblings. We were
Wow.
8 in total.
Oh,
My dad is a professor, so he's an academic,
academy.
and my mom's a retired teacher.
All right. Awesome.
They're both Nigerians, so we
Oh.
started off in Nigeria, obviously, and my dad had an opportunity to travel to the US to do his PhD there
Okay.
at Case Western Reserve, and then he worked in Nigeria for a long time.
Okay.
It was in the late 80s that he decided that it was a good idea to move the family outside of Nigeria.
Oh.
So I was a young boy there, about 5 years of age, and in 1990 we relocated to the southern part of Africa.
Okay.
And so with me and my siblings, we've all pretty much grown up in South Africa.
Wow.
One of the characteristics of being in a big family is that there's a lot of competitive juices going around.
Yes.
You're very competitive
True.
with your siblings.
Yeah.
You compete for just about everything.
course.
Playtime, TV time, meals.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, the works. And I think that really brought a sense of competitiveness in me.
Okay.
And I'm the seventh born, so I have a younger brother, and I have 6 other siblings that are much older than
So
myself.
they were always hitting on you.
So I was always in the zone where I was never old enough to get first preference,
Yes.
and I was never lost enough to be treated as the baby. So I was in this awkward age of being the seventh born.
Yeah.
And what that really taught me was really how to fend for myself, um, how to work hard, and how to make sure that I was not picked upon.
So it was constantly like proving yourself.
Absolutely,
Hitting.
absolutely. But I think the good thing was that it gave me a nice opportunity to learn from my siblings who are much older.
Okay.
So when they made mistakes and they got yelled at by my parents and they got disciplined, I was always learning from their mistakes. So
Okay.
a lot of my growing up has not been about me experiencing these mistakes myself, but more learning from my
Learning from your
siblings
siblings.
who
Okay.
were older. And that was very invaluable for me because it allowed me to start to operate outside of my age.
Okay.
Okay, so I was always around people that are much older than myself. I was always having to compete at a different level to what my peers were. And that really shaped my understanding of how to interact outside of the family environment, outside of the home environment,
Okay.
which was great. You asked about my high schooling. So when we moved to South Africa, we stayed in a small town called Alice in the Eastern Cape. My dad taught at Fort Hare, and I went to a small Afrikaans school in a town called Fort Beaufort.
And which year was that?
Oh, this was in the early 90s. This is
So it was still like pre-apartheid.
Yes, yeah. This is still
post-apartheid,
pre-apartheid, sort of moving into our new democracy
Yes,
now.
yes, yes, yes.
And I went to a school where basically in the class it was English and Afrikaans, and all the non-Afrikaans speaking people, who were mostly some Europeans and all black people, were in the English speaking class, and all the Afrikaans people were and the whites were in the Afrikaans speaking class. So there was a bit of segregation, and at this stage I think the school was still trying to deal with racial integration, etc. I'll tell you a funny story. We used to play rugby during the break times, and the way in which we split the teams was simply blacks versus whites. It was crazy.
So it was
So growing up, I wasn't fully aware of this. I just thought, well, maybe that was the easiest way for us to choose teams.
yes.
And so leaving Fort Beaufort, I then moved over to Graham College, where I did my high school, and then did my first degree at the University of Natal in Pietermaritzburg.
So just tell me, when you were still at high school, did you have any aspiration? Did you want to work in the banking space, financial space? What were your dreams? What were you thinking? What were you?
To be honest with you, I didn't really have it formulated in my mind in terms of what career I wanted to have.
Okay.
What I did know was that I was in a very competitive space, both in the home environment and also at school, and I just wanted to be in a space where I had the opportunity to chart my own course, to do my time was my own time. And what that did was that it drove me to continue to progress as fast as I could, grade by grade, making sure that I wasn't, failing or in a position to repeat any grades. I just wanted to really get out of the very structured system that I was in. My dad being a lecturer, living off a very small income and having to put
So much
8
money.
kids through school
Shouldn't be.
meant that there was very little resources for extramural activities, etc. Just literally food, clothing, and your family as your social life. The bare essentials. And what that taught me was a great sense of responsibility around when you have very limited resources, make the most of it.
So you describe yourself as someone that really had to fight for the space, being competitive and not having all the resources that someone will have to actually make them move,
cushion
together. So it was actually a tough area where it was a constant fight every day and fighting with.
I think it was a constant struggle, more of the mind, because I need to commend my folks. They're very hardworking. My mother had to work at particular times. She started her own school to provide more income for us to go to school. And my dad always put education at the forefront of the things that we do. So he prioritized that over and above anything else. He was making sure that we got a good education because he understood that was the key to our success in life. And I think we as kids, sometimes we wouldn't quite understand why he put so much pressure on us. We just, at some point in time, we probably want to pass more for them to get them off our back than for us. But at a point in time when I got to university, I started to understand, because there's a little bit more freedom, so I started to understand that getting a good education for me was an important factor in becoming successful in life.
Okay.
In fact, to be honest with you, in matric, I'd already understood that the subjects in getting good grades was going to give me an
Determine.
opportunity to get into the right first
University,
degree,
yeah.
and that would influence the type of job I got and the type of earnings that I would get in future.
Okay.
So already at that time, I was very concerned about getting into the right university and doing the right things. Okay. But what I acutely was aware of was that I had other siblings who also needed to go to university, who also had, needed to share in this very limited pie of resources that my dad had. So it was very important for me to try to relieve him of that pressure, to such a degree that after my first year, or towards the end of my first year in university, I asked him for my tuition fee.
Oh boy.
For the second year, to be able to go to the UK to meet my cousins, to go and work there during my holiday break, to earn additional income, to pay back my school fees, and then have money for to socialize in varsity, to take care of myself, etc.
So you took a risk.
So I took a risk. I think, and I was fortunate enough that my dad was receptive to
Open-minded.
that. He was open-minded to giving me my tuition for the following year to go and work.
Wow.
So I put together a CV, and I asked my cousins if I could stay with them. I just needed a place to stay, and off I went to UK as a youngster to start packing boxes in the dead of the winter.
Oh my word.
Couldn't afford any gloves, but I was packing boxes at a sports store to earn money so that I could bring that back.
And how long did you do that for?
I did it for about 2.5 months straight.
Oh, during the holidays.
During the holiday period. And the experience over there taught me two things. One was that you're never too young to earn money if you are prepared to work hard, okay? And earning money gives you a great sense of liberty to do the things that you would want. Yeah, so I would experience youngsters come into the sports store and buy a pair of sneakers that ordinarily at their age they would be asking their parents to buy for them, but they were buying for themselves. And what I quickly noticed was that after college, what they were doing was getting jobs to work in these stores, to earn their own money, to buy the things that they wanted. And the penny really dropped for me, because at that point in time I realized that I'm not too young to start working and to make sure that I use
to just be sitting
the most
around
amount of
waiting for the
hours.
parents,
And my thoughts went back to my first year, where after lectures we would go back to the res, we'd play cards, we'd sit on the lawn, we'd have a few beers here and there. And I said to myself, I don't have the luxury of wasting that time. I need to put myself to work.
Yeah.
So when I got back from the UK, that's exactly what I did. I went to the student union. I started making inquiries about part-time jobs. I started, going into town, taking a taxi into town to look for waitressing gigs at hotels.
Oh, wow, we sing.
Yeah, whilst I was in varsity.
Wow.
And I was fortunate enough that I got a nice break where a company called Unilever that sells a lot of
the big corporate
brands for the youth and young adults market. We're looking at targeting some of their brands into the university space, and they needed somebody who would represent them on the ground to run promotions on their behalf. And I had a good friend his name is George, and he was fortunate enough to have led this activation of promoters. And I got in touch with him, and together we started doing promotions at the university campus.
But I'm sure George didn't just come to you because he saw something in you.
Yeah, he did.
So it's definitely
he did.
The hard work, the journey. Yeah.
He was also a foreigner who had lived in South Africa for a very long time. His parents had also relocated from Ghana for more than 25 years at that point in time. And George and I struck up a friendship. And when this opportunity came to him, he pulled me in, and I grabbed it with both hands, and I supported him through the year. And when he moved on, because when he finished his first degree, he moved on, he left me with the contact details of this promotions company that was working with Unilever. And I took that on board, and I started doing promotions for the university. Started employing other people who were students like myself in their first year, third year, and together we're doing promotions, as well as studying.
I also say it wasn't even easy. I mean, because when you talk about just doing promotion recruiting, I think there was a lot of work that was put into that.
Absolutely. I think the drive for me was one, I needed a little bit of income to be able to sustain myself, but also what it gave me exposure to was the work-life environment, because I would have to take briefs from this promotion company. I would have to manage people, other promoters, and I'd have to get an outcome, get a result for the company, and be able to present that back to them. So that gave me a lot of exposure into the world of working, into formal employment, whilst I was still studying at the same time, and having a lot of fun doing it too.
Of course,
yeah,
of course, when you do something that you love. So, in your tertiary life, university, did you already know what you wanted to be, or you were still a guess? You were still kind of trying to figure out?
I think at that point in time when I started doing promotions, it became very apparent to me that I should take a career in marketing and in management. So I did, my majors were in marketing management as well as supply chain management. I knew I needed to work with people. I knew I was good with people. I knew how to coordinate things very well. I knew how to project manage and to sell. And as a result of that, I felt that my academic curriculum, as well as what I was doing on the side, complemented each other very well. And so it was a good fit for me. And from there on, I really was just, in my mind, my attitude was take every opportunity that comes your way. Make the most of it. You don't know nothing at this point in time. So every experience that you get is valuable experience. It's never going to be wasted, and it adds to your credentials of work experience. So that was my attitude up until I finished my first degree. My parents were very worried that this would be a distraction. I was worried that the working part-time would be a distraction, but I had a very clear goal that I needed to be financially stable and independent. So finishing my first degree was key. I chose not to do an honors at that point in time because I really wanted to relieve my dad of the financial constraint of having to pay for my tuition. So after my first degree, I got into an internship program with a company called Kantar. They're part of the WPP group, and we was on a rotation to go into 3 other sister companies doing consumer insights and marketing research.
So how did you get an internship? You just applied, or?
I applied. I saw the advert on in the newspapers, and I applied to a number of areas, a number of companies that were doing graduate recruitment at that point in time. I really struggled because everybody else was in there, and they were all clamoring for a very limited space. Initially, my key goal was to work for a Unilever, but that didn't pan out for one reason or another. So I continued to look, and this opportunity came out for graduates who would attend this internship program to be fast-tracked into the management environment. So I took that, and that led me to Johannesburg and being in Joburg. And from there on, I just continued to work hard, continued to prepare myself in terms of future opportunities. And I got my first big break when I was recruited to a company called Rocher as a brand manager there, looking after one of their confectionery brands. I had no brand management experience. All I had was some marketing research experience and some promotion experience. And again, that was quite a leap of faith for the company to employ somebody with no brand management experience to look after these brands. So obviously I didn't have a lot of experience as a brand manager, and so I would do my research. I found out as much as I could about this company, what they did, what their strategy was, who their clients are, and what they wanted to achieve going, for the future. So in essence, that became the trademark of how I begun to really differentiate myself. Was really to understand that because of my lack of experience
In the industry.
in certain areas, I needed to make sure that I was well prepared with my knowledge. I needed to make sure I had the right attitude, and I was very hardworking. And those three things, have brought me to a point where people have seen value in me, people have supported me, and have given me opportunities, to further my career.
What is that one thing that you think you did sacrifice for you to achieve everything you achieved? What are those things you think you sacrificed? Partying, girlfriends?
So I think all
family
of those things,
time?
I wouldn't say that people should entirely sacrifice them, but
Yeah.
what I did do was I started to take my life very seriously. I was always known as a serious kid growing up.
Okay.
It also comes from some experiences that I've had. I lost a very close brother of mine. One of my siblings passed away when I was 9 years of age, and that was a real wake-up call to just how cruel the world is, to this world of loss.
Yeah.
And I think that allowed me to go into a little bit of a shell and to internalize myself more and to be more introspective about the things that I was doing, and to take life seriously. So to a large degree, I grew up very fast. I was taking on things that people my age weren't taking on. I was interacting with people that were much older than myself. So they were my benchmark. It was not my peers that were my benchmark. It was still today, my benchmark are people who are typically 10, 15 years older than myself, who have had 10, 15 years more work experience than me, and I look up to them, I learn from them, and I try to compete with them in whatever it is that I'm faced with.
It's like they say, if you want to have money, work with people that have money.
Absolutely.
So if you want to think far, you have to work to be with people that have a great mind.
You are an absolute product of who you surround yourself with, your entire environment. So that's one of the key things that I really drove hard at.
Awesome. So Tim, I'm sure your story will be much longer for us to capture it in this short term of time.
Sure.
Just to conclude, how did you end up at Nedbank, and then maybe how did you further your studies? A couple of things you did.
Sure. So I ended up at Nedbank when I was actually still working at a company called Millward Brown. They do advertising and research, and Nedbank happened to be a client of Millward Brown. And Millward Brown's service or expertise was around brand health check, making sure that they understood the company's brands better than the companies actually understood them, understood where the brand was going in terms of its ability to build rapport with customers in future, etc. And so I worked on a Nedbank brand and got an understanding of what Nedbank was trying to do. And it was at that point in time that an opportunity came up to join the digital marketing team at Nedbank, to be a marketing manager looking after their brand in the digital space.
Yeah.
Digital at that point in time was
really
very little.
very
It was
little,
at the start of it. Nobody really paid much attention to it. They felt it was a little bit
Just something
childish
new,
and more recreational. They didn't see it as part of the financial stable in terms of how it drove value around service and sales. And so I then interviewed for the position. I shared my experience around what I understood about the brand to the head of brand at that point in time. And she was very impressed with what I knew about Nedbank. And I was a young kid. I was about 21 years of age then. And she took a chance on me. She took a chance on me and she employed me. And I started off there for a couple of years. I then decided to put myself up for further career development. So I did an executive education program at WITS. And after that, the following year, I'm enrolled to do my MBA. And it was during that time that I met up with one of the directors at Clientele Life, who told me about their business and what they were doing, and how they had a a need to look out for online channels to complement their distribution
Yeah.
strategy. So I shared what I was doing at Nedbank and how I could be of assistance to them. And he then convinced me to come over to Clientele. I then left Nedbank for a period of 2 years. And after those 2 years, I gained a lot of experience at Clientele. I was called back by a gentleman by the name of Pat Lamont. Nedbank was looking to go into a distribution strategy for their home loans business, and they needed somebody to drive and implement that strategy. So he then recruited me back into Nedbank after 2 years. I landed that strategy. He unfortunately passed on. He was ill. And I then applied for his position. And again, my current boss took a chance on me, and he gave me this position 4 years ago.
But I don't think it was just because of your smile that they took a chance. I'm sure they saw the hard work, they saw your struggle, they saw you really wanted to have those things. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt that you need breaks. You need somebody to take a view on you. But that individual only takes a view on you based on how you've conducted yourself. And based on how you have demonstrated your ability to be results driven, to have a great attitude in terms of your perspective on life, and to have a strong work ethic. I don't have any BE credentials. I can't say that I am somebody who was previously disadvantaged in the quality, in that sense. So I think that more than anything, they looked at an individual who had a lot of potential, had not demonstrated any real record of having done much, but over the years they've seen my attitude and things that I've done, and they've taken chances in me. Obviously, the older I got, the more experience I got, and I was able to fill a lot of life experiences in a very short space of time. And as the old saying goes, if you're good enough, you are old enough. They've not looked at my young age, and they've just seen the things that I've been able to do in the past, and have continued to support me. And I've continued to show them favor or show them results in the things that I've done.
Awesome, Tim. I think that will just conclude that first part about you telling us your story, which was really awesome. It was really great to hear from you, and hear that part. And now we know a lot about you. So we just a little bit about you. Sorry. So we just have this Q&A that we do at the end of the show, which is we ask you a question and then you just give us straight answer, short answer.
Okay.
So the first question would be, what would be the advice, three pieces of advice that you would tell to a young person, looking to explore the world? What would be that advice that you would give them?
To any young person out there, the first advice I would say is, I'll quote somebody who recently said, in life, you need to know everything about something, okay, and something about everything, okay. So basically, what that means is that you need to expose yourself. You need to know everything about what's going on out there, and pick one thing that you can know everything about, because that's how you then separate yourself as an expert in a particular field. So firstly, get to explore, okay, get to learn as much as you can, because when you don't know anything, you need to start to make sure that when there's an opportunity to learn something new and useful, that you take that opportunity. Okay.
All right. I think, how many hours you work per day?
Wow.
You do
my working hours never sleep. I've got two phones. 9 to 5s
doesn't work for you.
It's never really worked for me. But I will say that I try to compartment my life into different phases. So in the morning, I spend some time doing a daily devotion for about 5 minutes, just trying to center myself and plan my day. I come out here to the gym. I gym for about 45 minutes to an hour. I'm a strong believer in a healthy mind must reside in a healthy body.
Yes.
So I start off there and then I get to work. And my work day is filled with meetings, doing a lot of reports, presentations, etc. And in the evenings, it's reflecting on all the emails that have come through and just constantly working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's a busy. You're living a busy life.
It is a busy life.
So the other question is, who did inspire you? Who is your inspiration?
I think different people inspire me. I'm inspired by people that can transcend their lives, okay, and be able to achieve success in whatever they put their minds to. So growing up, one of my heroes was someone I looked up to was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
I admired him because he has this incredible legacy in the bodybuilding fraternity, and he then transitioned to making movies and made a success of that. He then transitioned to politics and made a success of that, and he's almost lived 3 lifetimes in one.
Wow.
So I admire that level of adaptability about him. I admire my dad. I think he has a lot of drive and hard work. He's an absolute workaholic, and he's one of the most humble and dedicated and loving individuals that I've come to know. Very soft, very giving, and I admire that about him.
Cool. So what makes you happy?
What makes me happy is seeing the things that I do have an impact on others.
Awesome. So Tim, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and we'll come back with more stories for you guys, so that you guys can actually understand it's not really a one-day journey, it's not a 2 weeks journey, it's a lifelong journey, and the journey keeps on going, the hustle keeps on going. So please do subscribe to the channel, and then we'll give you more information. Thank you. Bye. Cheers.
Cheers. Cool.